Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is actually going to be an update on a previous video I made back in probably like a year ago now. It was my Hollywood predictions, video. And if you guys seen it, if you haven't seen it, it's basically I was like predicting future trends in Hollywood. I'm gonna be this is what this YouTube channel's gonna be now. I'm gonna be like one of those insider speculators, whatever you call them, but on movies and stuff. Okay, but in that video, I was talking about how like every decade in Hollywood is like defined by a genre, right? Like every studio wants to make movies based on this genre. And I said that 2000s was zombies, right? If you guys were, maybe not my general audience, my generation, born in the 2000s, we did grow up there, but if you do remember, the zombies were huge in the 2000s, right? Zombie movies and shows were coming out. That was the decade of zombies. Zombie mania was real during that decade. And I said the 2010s was superheroes, and then I said, which I mean, yeah, obviously, right? 2010 superheroes, yeah, that's literally it. I think that's probably super accurate. But yeah, 2020s right now, as of the upload of this video, is going to be video game adaptations. And I do think all those three are correct. And just in my humble opinion, I think all three are correct. Those are the big genres. I'm not saying that exclusively those movies are made just in that decade. Obviously, it continues, just that that's the decade where it peaked. Zombie movies peaked in the 2000s, superhero movies peaked in 2010s, and video game adaptation I think are probably going to peak this decade. I feel like there's going to be more coming out in like the 2030s, 2040s, but I feel like this decade is really going to be, you know, like the Minecraft movie was huge. I'll probably say that's probably the biggest of the decade. So, but yeah, I think video games, and I said that 2030s was going to be like anime and manga adaptations, and like I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. In fact, I'm rarely ever wrong if you know me. But I do think I was a bit off. I was definitely a bit off in my decades. In fact, I think anime and manga adaptation is mostly going to be at 2040s. And let me tell you, the reason why I think that change is the case is because, there hasn't really been that many anime adaptations. Like anime is super popular, right? I think that's still true. Some of the highest grossing animated movies ever are anime. Demon Slayer or the Chainsaw Man movie was pretty big also. So I do think that's still going to be the next big thing, right? I mean, I know there's plenty of like live action American adaptations of anime and manga in the works. I know there's going to be like a Naruto movie, an Attack on Titan. I know Netflix is going to do like a My Hero Academia. So I know that's still happening. That's still very much happening. It's just I feel like, because usually when to define the decade is the decade previous had like the genre making its first appearance, right? The 2000s superheroes peaked in the 2010s, but we really started to see that start in the 2000s. That's the 2000s when like the Dark Knight movies came out. The Chris Nolan Batman movies. That's when the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. That was back when like the early X-Men movies. So I do think that the 2000s we saw a clear start of it, and the 2010s really were like it took off. And again, same thing with the video games. 2020s definitely it, but the last decade before we saw video game adaptations. There was the Assassin's Creed movie, there was that like Tomb Raider movie, and there was plenty of other adaptations of that already in the decade previous. So and this decade, in terms of films, we haven't really gotten that in anime or manga. Like the only one, and I think the only example I really used was the One Piece show, but that's like a show. That's more of like a one instance rather than just a trend we're seeing. So I do think I'm a bit off by a couple of years or a couple of decades. So I still do think, right, because anime is still super popular. Everyone knows anime. I remember back in like middle school where if you were into anime, you were like a loser and a nerd. Nowadays, most people at like work or even in my younger siblings' friends, they're all into anime. That's cool now. It's not a nerd loser thing to be into anymore. And I feel like it's become more and more open. People who usually I feel like wouldn't watch anime has been gotten into it. So I do still think that's gonna be the next big thing. I just think I was off by like just one decade. I don't think it's gonna be the 2030s. I think it's gonna be more like the 2040s. We'll start seeing like that Naruto and My Hero Academia movies are definitely gonna be out by the 2030s. But that again, that's gonna be more like the start of it. Not really the big trend like we're gonna see. So that got me thinking. If I was off, if anime manga is gonna be for the 2040s, then what is gonna be the 2030s? And for a while, I wasn't sure. I was not sure because I couldn't really see like what else could be super popular that gets adapted into stuff. But a certain movie came out this year, a couple months ago, that I did watch, and it got me thinking. And I saw a trend happening. I saw it in real time. The next big thing in the 2030s is going to be that movie that came out that I feel like started this new trend, this new what we're going to see in the next decade, was the Backrooms movie. Okay, the Backrooms. First off, is a good movie. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I didn't know. I know what the Backrooms were, but I wasn't really into like the lore or anything like that. I mean, in terms of like creepypasta or internet horrors, that was a real like the background started to take off well after my like creepypasta phase was over. So I wasn't really that interested. But I think the movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I think it was the lore's pretty cool. I think the just everything about it was really good. So I am glad a movie like that is succeeding. But what comes when a movie like that succeeds is other studios are going to see that and they're going to want to replicate that. And I feel that's definitely what's going to happen. The Backrooms again, it's popular, people like it, it's a really good movie, and so we're going to see that. We're already seeing that. I've already seen reports of adaptations of other internet horror creepypastas. I don't know if that's like the meaning the same. To me, creepypastas was always more like the Jeff the Killer Slender Man, where internet horror to me is more like the modern stuff, like the back rooms, or like those like what do they call it, like the analog horror. Back in my day, we used to call them ARGs, alternate reality games, but now they're just called like analog horror series. But we're definitely seeing that. Like I saw there were gonna be like a Siren Head movie. You guys remember Siren Head? That was pretty popular back then. Fucking like Chills made like a top 10 Siren Head sightings in real life. Which, like, side tangent, I was really into Chills. I used to watch his videos a lot. The guy with the monotone voice. That was like number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. I was like, I'll watch that dude. I'm telling you, with my creepypasta phase, I was watching that dude religiously. And I kind of like believed some of the videos I ran just because I think it looked pretty cool. But it wasn't until after like he made the Siren Head video, because I knew Siren Head was fake. I literally followed the artist who made Siren Head on like Twitter, and I remember seeing it the first time when it was posted. So I knew it was fake. It was created by an artist on Twitter, and he posted that video like in real life, and he was like acting like if all these could be like real. Like, no, chill. These are not real. These are all fake. Okay, Siren Head is not real. So that's when I stopped watching it, because I guess I broke the illusion. But yeah, besides that, Siren Head is still a cool concept. So we're gonna see a Siren Head movie that got announced. I think it was announced we're gonna get a movie on like I think it's called like the Mandela Catalog, which is like this analog horror series. I think that's just got announced like today, honestly, in the recording of this video. And I saw one that really caught me. That really piqued my interest. Piqued my interest was the SCP movie, a movie based on SCP in the VHS series. If you guys don't know, VHS is like the series, a horror series of films where like the whole structure is that it's a VHS, and each VHS is like it's a compilation of short films into one big movie, and they'll show like different like horror stuff. Think of like American Horror Story, but it was a movie. And the next VHS movie, which by the way, the previous VHS movies I thought were all pretty mediocre. I don't think they're really like that good or original. I mean, if you're a horror fan, I guess you'll like it, but it really isn't that scary or creative, really. But the next VHS movie is going to be specifically about the SCP Foundation, and the SCP Foundation is fucking cool. I love the SCP. Again, during my creepypasta phase, I would regularly go on like the SCP Foundation website, and I would just like read through all the like the entries, like all the SCPs. They were all so cool to me, like the Plague Doctor one, like the baby statue one. Like it was just so cool to me. And so seeing that being turned to a movie is actually really, really interesting. I feel like this, VHS is going to be like a series of short films compounded to one big movie. It's all going to be different, like SCP entries. I think that's a really good, smart way of formatting it. I feel like this studio executive definitely getting smart how to like, give into this crowd. So with that, all these movies being announced, the success of Backrooms, that's definitely gonna get like a sequel. I do feel like it changed. It changed. I feel like now the 2030s as a decade, it might just be defined by adaptations of like internet horror, creepypasta, and we've seen it before. I said that every decade as we see it before happen. Like even with the Backrooms, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a Slender Man movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that. You shouldn't watch it. It's like shit. that was really bad. But there was a Slender Man movie, and that was like in like 2018, I remember. So it's been done before, And I remember for such a long time there were like talks of like a Jeff the Killer movie. I don't know how true these were. I feel like a lot of sources I got it from were not like very credible. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is some talks about it, because Jeff the Killer was huge back in like 2013, 2014. That shit was huge during like the peak creepypasta era, So I do think that's where we're going. Other stuff also, right? Like SpongeBob, the show was literally like reference to Squidward suicide, Like people who grew up in with creepypastas, like people like me, my generation, all my goths and weirdos, they grow up and they get into the industry and they make movies and shows on the stuff that they enjoyed as kids. And some of these kids enjoyed creepypastas, and they're going to turn that into feature length, right? I mean, the guy who directed the Backrooms movie made it because he loved the Backrooms, right? He made his own little web series on it. So it just makes sense because he grew up with that, So I definitely do think that's going to be like the next big trend. As we're going to see creepypastas and internet horror, all those like, maybe not some of the classic creepypasta stuff. Like I seriously doubt, again, as much as I keep referencing, I seriously doubt we're ever going to get like a Jeff the Killer movie. Mostly because like the Jeff the Killer story is like fucking like 5 pages long. Okay, so first off, it's horrible. I don't know if you actually ever read like the original Jeff the Killer story. It's actually really bad when you read it. It's like you can tell it's written by like a 12-year-old. Second of all, it's super short, and third of all, I don't know how you can make a movie about that. Like Jeff the Killer is just a murderous teenager. Like what can you possibly? He can't be the protagonist. Okay, that's not a good protagonist. Maybe it'll be something like the Joker movie. Like that's kind of like a mini trend also. Making like bad guy movies about bad guys. We had like the Joker. Cruella was a thing. We were getting like Clayface up next. So I don't know. That's kind of like a mini trend that's going on. Not enough for me to like call it a decade, but maybe I see that. But I do think more like the interesting, more fleshed out stuff. Like SAP Foundation. All those I was gonna say ARGs, but all those oh my god, I forgot the name of it. Analog horror. All those analog horror series on like YouTube. I definitely do think they're gonna be like adapted. We're getting like the Mandela catalog, which I'm pretty sure is what it is. I know there's like a whole bunch of other more. There's like a lot of other ones, like original ideas. So I definitely think we're definitely going to see adaptations of those in the future. Again, Backrooms is huge, and yeah, I just think that's gonna be the next big trend. I just something I think about. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. Again, most people who grew up with creepypastas are gonna get old. They definitely want to see the movie. Backrooms was popular. Everyone wanted to see it. I would definitely love to see stuff like that. Maybe they'll give Slenderman a second try. Make a second Slenderman movie. Maybe make a movie on like the fucking Russian sleep experiment. You guys ever heard of that one? That was like a really good one. I think Candle Cove, that one creepy video where like all the kids are like crying and there's like puppets. I think that got adapted into like a TV show. But honestly, I might just make a movie on it. I mean, like I'm telling you, there's good creepypastas and internet horror out there. There is very creative and good ones. It's just it just depends on who they get to make it. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if the trend continues, they'll keep hiring like more inexperienced, fresh, up and coming, filmmakers. Like again, like the director of Backrooms was literally like 20 years old. So I do hope they get that. Maybe that's kind of what adds to it because they understand it. Obviously, some old head 50-year-old director isn't gonna understand why something like fucking Smile Dog is scary. It's just not their generation. It's just not something they would be familiar with. So that's just kind of why I feel like that'd be something more that makes sense to me. So I do think that's been it. So I am pushing my predictions. The 2030s, I feel like now will be defined by internet horror adaptations, And there's a lot more. I know you're probably thinking there isn't that much, but there really is. Like there's a lot of like creepy pastas and like internet, horror web series. There's a lot, it just depends on what people find interesting, you know. And I feel like that's gonna be the next thing. And I still think the anime manga, I think people call it like anime manga. I think that's definitely still gonna be a trend. Is gonna happen. Anime is just so super popular here in the U.S. especially. I feel like it's just only getting more popular. I read something that the manga in the U.S. in America, just in America, not even Japan or other countries, in America, Japanese manga sells more than like American comics. So I'm telling you, that's still gonna be a trend we're gonna see, especially again, people grew up watching like anime and reading are gonna get into the industry and they're gonna make stuff. So I definitely do think that's still gonna happen. But I'm saying that's more gonna be 24. So we haven't really seen that happen. I don't think we really had any. Like there hasn't been any. There hasn't really been any like American big live action adaptations of anime so far. So I feel like I kind of was. I think I jumped the gun too early on that. So I'm definitely pushing. I think we're definitely gonna start seeing it in the 2030s. I feel like in the 2030s, next decade, we're definitely gonna start seeing more like again the Naruto, the Attack on Titan that might just be coming out, and we're gonna see that as like setting the trend for what's to come. So I'm changing it. That's a new prediction. The new big trends of this like millennia, 2000s zombies. And you can definitely see the internet creepypasta is kind of a continuing of the zombie genre. I kind of see anime and manga as a continuation of the superhero genre, right? Because most superheroes are based on comic books. That's like the old popular ones. So you can definitely kind of see that as kind of like a parallel. Like a continuation. This old trend dies, we're gonna just bring a new version of that same trend, right? Zombies and internet creepypasta horror, kind of the same. Cut from the same leaf, cut from the same tree, whatever the saying is. And it goes to like superhero, comics and manga and anime. Yeah, I don't know about video games. I don't know about that, but like, yeah, I'm not gonna predict the 2050s, 2060s. That's like way too much in the future too. Who knows what would be popular at that point, But yeah, the 2000s is gonna be zombies, 2010 superheroes, 2020 is gonna be video games, 2030s is gonna be like internet horror, and 2040s is gonna be anime. That's my prediction. Okay, so in the future, when you start seeing movies based on that coming out, you're gonna come back to me and you're gonna tell me that Carlos, you are so fucking right. You're such a genius. Let's make you the head of a studio executive, But yeah, that's what I want to talk about. I also want to talk about will be like a little pitch. We're gonna do a little pitch, okay? Since I'm talking about all this internet horror, it got me thinking like, what would I make into a movie? If I was a fresh and upcoming filmmaker and fucking I think my dad got here his truck. Okay, but just ignore that. But if I was an up and coming filmmaker and Warner Brothers or Paramount or Disney came to me and was like, hey, Carlos, make us a movie on something creepypasta, on a horror series. Oh my goodness. Like make that. And I'd be like, okay, let me think. Let me think. Um, I got it. I got it. Let me pitch to you guys my idea for a movie based on creepypasta and horror. Okay, so I know I said that Jeff the Killer movie would never really happen because it's like not a good idea. But how about instead of just the Jeff the Killer movie, we get all of the Jeff the Killer extended universe characters and we put them together. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. So, what I'm thinking in my big old noggin here is that it'll be the movie. I'll predict it'll be like a trilogy. It'll be three. And I'll get into details about them. All right. I won't get too much into detail because I don't really know that much. It's all like I'm literally just coming up with it right now, out of the top of my head. But okay, so my prediction is that we'll get all the classic, creepypasta, the killers. We'll get them all together. The movie will be like Suicide Squad. It'll be like a group of bad guys and put them together and be a team. And this team will be made to stop other bad guys. So it'll be like the Suicide Squad. The team will consist of Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer, Nina the Killer. Oh, that might be a niche one. I'm like flipping you all. I didn't even do that. But that's like a niche reference. I don't know. Again, this will only make sense if you're like into the creepypasta as much as I was. So, have a Google tab open with all the names I'm gonna drop out. So, I'm not gonna waste my time explaining to you who they are, what they do. You're just gonna have to Google it yourself and find out. Okay, so Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer, Nina the Killer. We'll throw in Tiki Toby. We'll throw in Clockwork. Clockwork. We'll throw in Laughing Jack, and we'll throw in Eyeless Jack. That's the team. It'll be 7 of them. Okay. And the dynamic. None of them really have like powers. I don't think any of them really have like powers or abilities. They're all just like murderers. I know Clockwork has like the clock in her eye. Her name is Clockwork. Honestly, I do not remember. I don't think I've ever read Clockwork's like story, so I don't know what like the deal with that is. I honestly just think they just did that to make her look cool. It's like a cool little character design. Because what use like does she have like time travel powers or some bullshit? I don't think so. So, just for the sake of this, because it makes sense. Because why else would she have a clock in her eye? We'll say she has the power to like, I don't know, like rewind time or something. Like she can really like freeze time for a bit, rewind it. Something like that. Not like time travel. I feel like time travel is really complicated. And once you introduce time travel to a story, it just kind of like confuses things. It just kind of brings up the questions like, if she goes back and kind of stops something, why would she even need to go back? And she stopped and that thing never happened. Therefore, she never needed to go back. So it just creates like a whole paradox. We're not going to give her actual time travel powers. We're just going to make it maybe she can like rewind like, 5 minutes or stop time for like a little bit or some shit like that, Same thing goes for Laughing Jack. I don't know if he was just like a regular killer who like dresses like a clown, like the Joker, or if he's some like. Because I know in this story, I'm pretty sure he was like a nightmare thing. No, like he was on like. I don't know what it was. Again, I'm not super familiar with the story. Honestly, I should have read them before coming into this. But for the sake of the story, we'll just say that he also has powers. Okay, we'll make him like some like nightmare demon type thing. Like he's kind of like a ghost nightmare thing. I don't know. Maybe his powers is like he enter people's dreams and like manipulate them or some shit like that. Again, not that super important. But yeah, the rest are just regular people who are just like I don't know, like really good at killing or some shit. Yeah. So the movie will be a 7 of them, and they'll be gathered together to form like a Suicide Squad by the SCP Foundation. So this is like the whole expanded universe. So some like scientists at the SCP Foundation. The SCP Foundation, if you don't know, is like a whole like secret organization that they like hunt down like these paranormal supernatural creatures and they study them. Not just creep, also like items and stuff like that. And they want to like their whole goal is to like protect humanity from these like otherworldly disasters, right? So they gather up these 7. We'll make it like teenagers, young adults, something like that. We definitely get that type of the audience. They gather them together. They'll be like, okay, we're gonna send you guys on a mission. The 7 of you have a mission to take. So I said there's a trilogy. So the first movie will be they're getting together, and the big bad of this movie will be none other than Slender Man. Okay, Slender Man. So Slender Man is I don't know if this is like established lore. I'm just gonna like spitball here, but there's like a cult of Slender Man, right? The cult of Slender, and Slender Man is some like also some like otherworldly like demon type thing, and his goal is just kind of like Pennywise from it. He just wants to like eat kids or something like that. And so there's like a cult, and they want to summon Slender Man because it's like their god. They worship him, and Slender Man is just only interested in like eating, right? And so this cult, Slender Man does exist, like he is in the world running around, and Slender Man has the power to like brainwash people. Like once you get into his presence, you kind of just like bow down. You can't control. Like he kind of like takes over your mind. You just kind of worship him. So the reason the SCP Foundation got these seven killers is because they're like immune to Slenderman, right? Slenderman has no effect on them. They can't be brainwashed. I know that goes against the lore like of Tiki Toby. I know that's like he literally was brainwashed, but we're gonna change that. Okay, we're changing that, retcon it. Okay, so they get these seven killers and they give them a mission. It's like, okay, we want you since you are unaffected by the Slender Man's brainwash. Can't we use our like regular like army soldiers, right? Because they'll just be brainwashed. So we need you seven. We're sending you on a mission across the world. It'll be like a globe trotting. This isn't a horror movie. Okay, I don't know if I expect this is not gonna be a horror movie. This is gonna be like a fucking action movie. This is gonna be the motherfucking Avengers. Okay. You might say that's lame. What's the point of making a movie about creepypastas not horror? I don't know what to tell you. Okay, like Jeff that image of Jeff the Killer is crazy, but I mean that image of Jeff the Killer is scary. But I feel like if you do it in live action, it would not be scary. Okay, it's just a lackey little teen with a knife. What the fuck is so scary about that? Okay, it's not that scary. But it'll be like so we'll have some horror elements definitely, but it'll mostly just be like an action, type thing. They're basically like superheroes, right? So the SCP Foundation gets the seven of them, and they're dynamic. I'm gonna say all their dynamics. I'm thinking about it. Okay, so Jeff the Killer is definitely like the leader of the group, right? He's like the cool, like badass, like he when he walks in front of an explosion happening behind him, he doesn't even like turn around. He gives like one-liners before killing people. He's like really good. He's like the main character. He's good at almost everything. He doesn't have like a strong personality because as the main character, he kind of wants to kind of be like almost an empty blank slate, so the audience can kind of just enter themselves into the character. But they are murderers, but they kind of more like a Dexter thing. I'll change it to more like a Dexter thing where they only kill bad people just to make them a little bit more sympathetic, right? Because they're just murderers who just kill people for no reason. Then it's like, why do you want to cheer for them, right? So we'll just do like a Dexter thing. And Jeff the Killer's like leader. He's cool. He helps. He kills bad people. I don't know. He's just the main character. Like that's kind of a personality in and itself, right? So he'd be the leader. He'd be everyone to relate to. Jane the Killer, we'll make her like the femme fatale, the girl boss. She gets shit done. Like Jeff is kind of like on top of things, but he can be silly. He can be a little goofy. Maybe he gets distracted. Make him like we'll kind of make him like a little not goody two shoes, but like kind of like someone who still wants to help out people. Again, we're doing like a whole Dexter thing. I know that sounds completely out of character, but that's what we're going for. Jane the Kill will be like someone like who only cares about the mission. She's interested about like doesn't care if people die because of the battle. She only cares about winning the battle. So it'd be like the girl boss, kind of like the mom of the group. She makes sure to get everyone together on the mission. But that's gonna be her. She's a femme fatale. She's like deadly, sexy but deadly, right? That's the whole archetype. And I know there's people like to ship Jeff and Jane together. I personally never really liked the shipping, mostly because I feel like shipping between is kind of dumb in general. But it never made sense to me because like in the original story, like Jeff the Killer like murders Jane the Killer's parents, and she like sets out to get revenge on him. So it never made any sense to me why she would like fall in love with him because she like murdered everyone she loves. But regardless, right? But that's besides the point. Maybe we'll do like a love triangle. It'll be with Jeff, Jane, and Nina. Because Nina the killer, her personality. First off, her personality would be she's like the bubbly, girly girl, loud, always happy. She's like kind of like the spirit of the group, always keeping going spirit up. Again, she's like a girly girl. Always happy, very very flexible. In the original story, she's like deeply in love with Jeff. We'll keep that. In fact, it'll be like a love triangle. Nina's in love with Jeff. Jeff's like low key in love with Jane, and Jane. Oh, okay. Nina's in love with Jeff, and Jane is like also like she's in love with Jeff, but she doesn't want to like admit it. I know I said I didn't like it that much, but I feel like in this story we'll change it and we'll say that he didn't kill our parents. Okay. And there's like a love triangle going on, and Jeff kind of likes both of them. It'd just be like the classic MC character and the two love interests. It'll be love triangle. That always happens. Okay, so we'll do that. Besides those three, Tiki Toby, we'll make him do like he'll be like the shy boy of the group, kind of like the basket case. Like he's not really shy, he's just kind of awkward. He has like hard time like fitting in. He has like a connection to Slenderman. We'll say that he grew up in the cult of Slender, like his parents were cultists, and therefore he has like a connection to it. He like looks him and Jeff are like BFFs. He's like kind of goofy, but he still tries to be serious. And he always he relies on the group because he sees the group as his family, even though they don't really look like see each other like that. That'll be Tiki Toby. Because he's like the one the older girls like falling out the mouth over, so we'll do that. Um, yeah, and Clockwork, we'll make her be like the. I don't know. For Clockwork, I feel like we could just make her some like I don't know, make her like a tomboy type thing. Like a rowdy. She likes like violence. She always likes to like kick ass, ask questions later, kick ass first, ask questions later. We'll do something like that. We'll say that she constantly doesn't really like being in the team. She more like her own like lone wolf type thing. So she gets all she like struggles with the team whole thing. We'll say like Toby probably has like a crush on Clockwork, so people always used to like ship the two together. So we'll do something like that also. Maybe they low key date. I don't know. Well, that'll be her like again like the roughhousing, more of like the rebel. I guess you can say she's more rebellious kinds of the team. I'm just realizing we do have like two Jacks in the team, Eyeless Jack and Laughing Jack. I was thinking of putting in like was it like Masky and Hoodie? I don't know if you guys know those, but like this is like a really niche thing, but people I feel like don't realize this. Masky and Hoodie weren't just some like OC serial killers. They're from like a web series called Marble Hornets, and I know because I watched Marble Hornets. I'm telling you, I was really into that creepypasta stuff, so I watched Marble Hornets, and they're from that. And again, I don't know if they're like copyrighted, but I think we're just gonna stick to like the public domain free use characters. I don't want to use any of like the copyrighted based on already existing IP. So no Masking Hoodie, they're part of Marble Hornets. And that same, no, we're not gonna use like Sonic.exe or Ben Drown or any of those light character creepypastas based on already existing franchises. We're not gonna use any of those because I want to avoid that. Like I would love to use Hero Brian, but I mean we could just replace the Minecraft, just have a guy with white eyes. But I feel that's just kind of lame though. Like what's the point of having Hero Brian? We can't even call him Hero Brian, So we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna stick to like the original stuff, So yeah, but regardless, we'll do Laughing Jack will be like the comedic relief. He's like the guy who doesn't take anything serious. He's always cracking jokes. We'll make it that he's not that funny though. He's like mostly the only one that laughs at his own jokes, but he does, he does get along with everyone else though, and he likes to fuck around a lot. He's goofy, right? This is his character. He's the comedic relief. He's the guy who has always funny. Kind of like a Nina, but I think even more hiding. And Eyeless Jack, we'll just call him like Eyeless John or something to differentiate from Laughing Jack. But Eyeless John, we're gonna keep the eyeless thing because I think it's a cool design. But he'll be like the silent one. He doesn't talk at all. In fact, throughout the whole movies, he never says a single word. He just communicates with like gestures. He's just a stone cold killer. He just kills. He has no emotion. He never reacts to anything. He's just a killer. All right. He's just walking around. Everyone's cool with him though because he's like easy listener. Surprisingly emotionally available. So that's the dynamic of the group. And my brother's playing music. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah, that'll be the dynamic of the group. Okay, so in the first movie, they get together, right? Like the first act of the movie, as them kind of bumbling together, they get taken, right? Like they get taken to the SCP Foundation. They're all like arrested in prison or whatever. Maybe Clockwork and Laughing Jack are already like experiments of the SCP Foundation. So they get together. The SCP Foundation, some like original character who's like the leader, like the Nick Fury type thing. He puts them together and he's like, okay, guys, we need to send a mission. They need to collect Slender's 8 pages. Right, that's like the lore, right? Also, like 2 of them are already controlled by the cultists. You need to go get the pages and stop them before the cultists get it. If they get the 8 pages, then they're able to like I don't know, like make Slenderman even more powerful or some shit like that, and he can like try to take over the world or some bullshit. So they get sent on some missions, We'll send them to other countries where like creepypastas were also pretty popular, right? Like Japan and Mexico. I know those were like also pretty big on their own original creepypastas and stuff like that. So we'll make the missions, like a Fast and Furious type shit. They're going on a globe-trotting adventure. They get first mission. They always say you like fuck up, and they do collect the page, but they're all kind of like almost killing each other. And on the second mission is when they get more serious and stuff like that, right? So the first act will be them getting together, the lore drop, and they get down their first mission, and they somewhat succeed, but it's like a not really. They get the page, but they cause so much death and destruction that it's kind of a failure, right? And in the second act, they go another mission. It goes well. They like get bond more as a team. And they do more better, right? Then we get the whole more character dynamics. Maybe the first mission will be like in in Japan. Maybe they go to like Tokyo and they cause some like big city fight with the cultists. Maybe the cultists summon like the rake, the rake thing, or like a bunch of rakes, and they start running around killing people. And then the second mission, by the second act, they go to like Mexico. That one's more organized. They get the pages, no problem, and they return to the SCP Foundation. So the first act will end. Okay, so the first act. The team gets together. They're rounded up by the SCP Foundation. They get told the lore dump and everything. They go send a mission to Japan. They fuck up, and the cultists like a huge battle in Tokyo, and people are like dying, and there's like explosions, and the rake comes out and start killing people. And they do get the page, but there's so much death and destruction. They return to the SCP Foundation, and they get like a stern talking. and then they realize that the Cole has already collected like a third page. So they have three. So there's only like four left, and so they need to get their shit together, right? So that's how the first act ends. The second act starts with them going to like the new mission in Mexico. That one goes a lot better. They like bond with the people. They bond together. They do fight some cultists, but this one is more like silent. They collect 2 pages actually. Found out there's actually two there, and they return to the SCP Foundation. Maybe learn more about like the backstories. And the second act ends with the cultists actually attacking the SCP Foundation, like their base that they're staying at. And Slenderman actually shows up. Slenderman shows up in the first act, and he's kind of like almost like a nightmare, like Laughing Jacket's a nightmare or something. He shows up. He like this dude's like overpowered as fuck. His tentacles come out. He's like killing people. Jeff and Jay and all of them trying to fight back, and they get like their asses turned around because they can't fucking do shit. And the cultists like just take all the pages and they leave. Now they have like fucking like what, like 5 pages now? Yeah, they have like 5 pages. So this shit's over. There's only 3 remaining. They have to go get it, right? So that's how the second act ends. It's like the climactic, And the third act, some half the team is already calling it quits. Like, oh, we can't do this. Like we tried, but we're not built for this. SCP has been hit hard. The fucking end of the world's gonna happen. But like Jeff, maybe someone else, like Jane gets the team back together, and they fix everything. And they're like, okay, let's go on one more mission. And the third act, they go find the papers in like somewhere like in the U.S. I'm thinking some shit like I want to say New York or LA, some another big city, but I feel like we're transitioning, right? We already had like the big city in Tokyo, and the Mexico mission will probably be like in the jungles, like some like in Yucatan or some shit. So I think for this scenery, we'll probably be like in I don't know. I'm thinking something like maybe somewhere in the south of swamp, somewhere like in Louisiana, something swampy. I'm getting like Resident Evil 7 ideas from it, right? But it'll be stuck somewhere there. They go get the page, and they go in. They find there's actually like the 3 last remaining pages. They try taking it. They fight the cultist, but the cultists ultimately manage to take the pages. They give this something he's like super powerful, but the 7 of them decide not to give up, and they fight him. And it's like this big battle, fucking end of the world stage. But at the end of the day, they kill Slenderman. He dies. They stop it, and they save the world. Woo! That's how the first movie ends. Okay. Second movie is the team are established. They wear like uniforms now. They're part of the SCP Foundation, and they're all doing missions. They're in the world. They're still working together. There's still other stuff to check out. But this part of the movie is that the basically a breakout. Like you've seen the movie The Cabin in the Woods. In the last like 10 minutes, all like the monsters in the secret facility break out and they start killing people. That's gonna be the whole movie. So this movie, in the second movie, like the Plague Doctor SCP manages to like break out. He takes control over like the mainframe or whatever, like the base they're staying on, and he like unleashes all the other SCPs. Like the baby statue that kills people, that one SCP that doesn't like when people look at it and like charges at them, and that one SCP that's like a furry artists make art of. Like people are low key like horny posting for it. It's like a black wolf thing. I don't really know what it is. And that one, especially the alligator swamp monster thing, that's like indestructible or something. We're gonna use that one also. So the whole plot is that they break out. Most of them are in the SCP Foundation. It's like a whole. That's like the plot, right? The SCP Foundation, the main base is like this almost like fucking infinite long, fucking like underground complex, and it's almost like different biomes in there also. So the team, it gets like their mission is to stop all of them from breaking out. So I'll be the whole plot of the movie. It's just the 7 of them going around stopping all these SCPs from breaking out. Maybe we can do like not just the monster, but even some of the cooler concepts, right? I know there's like the infinite IKEA store. We can partner up with IKEA and actually make it, or if IKEA doesn't want to partner with our movie, we can just do some original furniture. We'll do something like that, but we'll just explore all the cool like SCP Foundation concepts, not just the monsters, but all those stuff also. I think in this movie we'll introduce Sally, the ghost girl. She'll have like some connection with like maybe like Laughing Jack or something. Like I think the plot will be like the Plague Doctor wants Sally because he wants to like harness her like power or something, or like spirit powers, and he uses it to like I don't know, like enslave humanity or some shit. Maybe that's his end goal. I just thought of this right now. In the first movie, Finding Slender Man, it's like a big reveal that the cult of Slender leader, is actually Jeff the Killer's brother. I just remember this because Jeff the Killer's brother had his own like creepypasta thing. I think it was called like homicidal Louie, something like that. So there'll be like a big climactic thing where like Jeff the Killer kills his brother, and it's like a big thing. Like, oh my god, I thought you were dead. It's like, no, I'm a cult leader. And also, I think it'll be Tiki Toby the one to kill Slender Man because he has that connection. He'll be the one to ultimately put like it'll be like a scene where like all of them kind of do the attack, but Tiki Toby's gonna be mostly the main one. He has that connection to Slender Man. That's to be their character arcs. So yeah, but in the second movie, Sally movie has things with Laughing Jacks, both like spirit forms or whatever, and all the characters are trying to stop the SCP Foundation. I think, and so on the first act will just be them doing maybe some other mission, fighting some other like monster thing. Maybe like already established SCP. They capture it, and they put it in the facility. Maybe it'll be the SCP. I think it's 682, the crocodile monster thing. They like somehow manage a way to like defeat it, not kill it, but they bring it back for research. And so in the third act, they'll be like freed, and they'll be like they have to fight it again. So first act will be that attack with the SCP monster. Then they like go in the SCP Foundation, and maybe we'll do a show like they're all trying to actually live normal lives under new identities and not being serial killers. It'll be something like that. And then the first act will end with like all them coming together in the SCP Foundation, and the breakout happens. And the Plague Doctor does that. And the breakout. So the second act, this is when Sally comes in, and she communicates with Laughing Jack, and then all like the monsters are out, and so they have to go around and stop it. Maybe they kill some, maybe they just capture others. We'll do like we'll do some shit like eyeless Jack is like the one has to kill like the baby statue thing, and they'll be like because he doesn't have eyes, so kind of like the baby doesn't process that. So that'll be something like that. We'll have like Tiki Toby might get lost in like the infinite IKEA just because it's like funny, and he finds like people there who become like tribal, who've also been lost. So that'll be like a thing. We have like maybe Jane Killer because she has like a mask someday. She also fights like the one that doesn't like being looked at. And we'll just like everyone will have like their specific little PC. They'll team up with something. Like Tiki Toby and Clockwork could be lost in infinite IKEA. That's when like the romance starts and stuff like that. So that'll be the part of that. Second act, it ends with most of them stopping almost all the SCPs, putting them back, right? All different areas of the Foundation, except it ends with the Plague Doctor capturing Sally, and he escapes to like surface on the world with like the crocodile monster SCP, and he like uses Sally and like powers up the monster. That shit like just destroying thing while he tries to like process Sally to like control people. So now like the third act will be like the big climactic fight on like a fucking like I don't know some other like U.S. city like Chicago or some shit, and they have to fight the monster. And like Laughing Jack is ultimately the one because he's like the most powerful of the group. He like harnesses Sally's powers. She like kind of like sacrifices herself to power up Laughing Jack, and he destroys the monster, killing it permanently. And then the others kill the Plague Doctor. And then Sally's like, "Oh, thank you guys. I'm finally ascending to the afterlife. I'm no longer a ghost girl anymore." And that'll be like the end of that arc. But the end of the movie, the SCP Foundation is like completely destroyed. They've also our like serial killer group have lost faith in them because they realize they do like these horrible experiments. Like Sally was like a little girl and they did these horrible experiments. So they're like, I'm not gonna work with you no more. They throw like their badges and their uniforms and they go independent. And the SCP Foundation is basically like this all. So that'll be the end of the second movie. In the third movie, the final of the trilogy, the villain of that one will be Zalgo. I don't know if you guys know it, but Zalgo was like really fucking cool. He's kind of like a demon Satan type thing who like just corrupts and destroys everything. So in the third movie, honestly not that sure on what I'll do. I know it'll definitely be some like we'll just do some like demon invasion type thing. Like Zalgo is basically Satan in this universe, and now that like the SCP Foundation is destroyed, there's nothing like stopping him, and so he just like opens a portal to hell and he just like invades Earth. Maybe we'll do something where like our heroes are dragged to hell, so it'll be like Jack the Killer in hell and all our group are in hell. Actually, okay. So the first act will be like our team is kind of on the run. They're being hunted down by the government. The SCP Foundation is gone, and the government wants to arrest them again. So they're being hunted. They're kind of on the run. Some are on the run. Others are just kind of trying to live a normal life under their new identity. However, that shit all ends when like all of them are just magically like dragged down to hell by demons. And so that'll be the end of the first act. They're all in hell. And the second act, the first act ends with them meeting Smile Dog. Smile Dog, the dog with a smile, also is like a herald of Zalgo. Like he's foretelling his coming. So Smile Dog captures all of our heroes and drags them to hell. Our heroes are hell and they're in prison because Zalgo doesn't want them to stop them. He knows who they are. And so the second act is basically just takes place entirely in hell. All of our heroes have to escape through hell. Maybe they'll get a cameo from like Louis, Jeff's brother, who like died there. And our heroes like escape from hell. And the third act will be like a full on like in Doom Eternal where like the demons have just conquered Earth and like there's like the sky is red and they're fucking flying everywhere. And it's basically like a Mad Max thing where our heroes, just the 7 of them, are just gonna have to fight their way to Zalgo. And it's like a non-stop action and killing all these demons and stuff. Maybe some cameos from other creepypastas until they finally make it to like this like tower and they fight Zalgo because Zalgo's like too powerful. So like I don't know, maybe Laughing Jack this time sacrifices himself. He's like inspired by what happened to Sally. He's like really hurt about it, so he decides to give his own life to stop Zalgo, and they destroy him. And the movie ends with like half of the Earth, half the human population is like dead. But we'll rebuild. There's like the 6 remaining heroes. We're gonna do like a time scale where like like Toby and Clockwork got together and there's like a family now. Maybe we'll do where Eyeless Jack like remains in hell, and he becomes like the new devil, the new Satan. Because when Zalgo dies, he doesn't really die instead his spirit like possessed Eyeless Jack because he's like the most evil of the group. But he decides he's cool, So Eyeless Jack goes to hell. He's like the ruler of hell now, and he's like cool with it. And yeah, I think maybe honestly don't know who Jeff ends up with. Honestly, Jeff might just not end up with any of them because the whole point of love triangle is, I guess it has to be with someone, but I don't know. Maybe we'll have Jeff end up with either Nina or Jane. I don't know. Maybe we can have him end up with or maybe he just dies. I don't know. I haven't really thought. I'm trying to think of like a good ending to this, but I don't know. Maybe we'll have like Jane becomes like the new leader of like the new SCP Foundation. Like she helps build a new one, and we'll do that. Um, I don't know what to do with Nina and Jeff though. Should they get together? Because we already have Clockwork and Toby getting together. That's like a romance that lasts us through all three movies. I guess they get together. Yeah, we'll say that. Like Jeff and Nina also gets together, but they decide not to raise a family. They just decide to like keep fighting the good fight. As together. Maybe they lead like a new Suicide Squad team, and yeah, that's something like that. Something like that. Maybe Jeff or maybe Nina and Jeff don't get together. Jeff decides to raise like a new uh Suicide Squad. Like I said, Nina, I don't know what she'll do. She goes on like a world tour, like Clockwork and Toby settle down and raise a family. Nina decides, she wants to go explore the world, help people all over the world. So maybe she does something like that, and maybe she and Jeff do kind of like keep writing together, something like that. So that'll be the end of that movie, and yeah, that'll be like the trilogy. That'll be the movie. I don't know what I'll call it. I don't know, but that'll be it of it. So yeah, that's my pitch. 3 movies, 3 trilogies. Who would I cast as the characters? I don't know. And honestly, I feel like this video is getting a little too long, so I'm just gonna end it there. But that's my concept. Let me you guys know if you like my idea. I thought about it. I literally just came up with this like on the spot to you right now, and it could be worked more. I definitely think I think like the third movie especially worked out. I don't really have enough good ideas for that one. I like the first one. I think the first one and second one were really good though. But yeah, that'll be this. So the first movie main villain will be Slender Man. And the secondary movie will be like the SCP Plague Doctor, and third movie will be Zolga. So that's the plot, that Loki, Ultron, and Thanos, so that'll be the movies. And yeah, that's the idea. So yeah, I hope you guys like those ideas. I hope you guys agree with my prediction that the 2030 is going to be internet horror and creepypastas. And you know what? Let me write down in the comment below and tell me what your favorite creepypasta is. I'm curious. My favorite was the Ayuwoki that just scared the fuck out of me. Well, he's not going to be in the movies though. We're going to keep that thing far away from my beloved franchise. But yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.
Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Op, 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 Gangnam